Hey, I'm out here on a walk on my trail by my house and getting some sunshine, getting some steps in. And I wanted to just share with you one thing that I feel is so crucial for sustainable fat loss and health when you are on kind of a long game journey with your health in whatever way. And I this came to mind after I shared the video of my carnivore journey, my 7-month carnivore journey yesterday. If you're interested in learning about that, how my first 7 months into carnivore has been going, I'll put the link in the description of this video if you're wanting to take a look at that. But one of the things that I got into talking about after I gained 7 pounds in the first 6 weeks during fat adaptation. Totally fine with me. I was not overweight. I was not going to carnivore for fat loss. Definitely some body recomposition. So I do full body lifting sessions 3 days a week. I'm moving my body a lot throughout the week. And I was definitely looking forward to having some body recomposition. And if some of that meant fat loss, fine, but it is not something that I necessarily needed. But in about month 3, I was starting to play around with fasting. So that's something that I had been dabbling in prior to starting carnivore. And once I started getting some of my energy back and was going longer between meals and wasn't feeling like ravenous like I was, just like felt like I needed to eat all the time in my fat adaptation phase, I started feeling like, okay, maybe I could get in some fasting. So I did like a 3-day fast, and then I was playing around with doing just like OMAD 1 day a week. So 24 hours fast 1 day a week. And I was trying to be conscious of like making up for my calories on the other days too. So I was really just looking for the benefits within the fasting window and trying to really make sure I was, hitting higher protein and at least be at maintenance with sort of my caloric intake, although like I'm not really strict on my tracking. But to try to get to the point here, I did start leaning out a little bit. So like I said, I did gain 7 pounds in that fat adaptation phase. And so I did start losing that fat. And I got to a point where I was feeling like more cut than the weight on the scale wasn't necessarily less than when I started carnivore. In fact, it might have been a pound or 2 heavier, but definitely looked like more cut. Like I was looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, girl, you got abs now. And it was kind of like, had this, moment of like really enjoying that. And then, after about, a couple months or so, I'm a bit vague on my timelines, but it was like a couple months where I was playing around with that. And then I did some fast mimicking, which was interesting. Things that I would definitely like to play around with again in the future. But I started having perimenopause symptoms again. I was irritable before my period. My sleep was getting disrupted, and that's kind of been up and down throughout this whole journey as it's evolved. But panic attacks kind of briefly came back. I was dealing with some heart palpitations and just not the direction I was wanting to go. So this is kind of where I'm getting to my point, and that's the importance of having these deeper whys when we're on our journey, and along the way really practicing loving ourselves and creating like non-negotiables with our health goals that are gonna override any vanity. Because I think for so many of us in our, 20s and 30s, and we just want, if you're somebody that does have fat to lose, where it's like, I just want to fit into this size or look this way in the mirror, or like for me to be able to say, because I always kind of gained weight around the middle. So for me to like see abdominal muscles, I was like, wow, I never see that, and so like that was kind of cool, but it came at the expense of my hormones and my peace. And because I have grown to value that so much, and because that's really been my true non-negotiable, and being able to feel well, it was like a no-brainer for me to not be willing to sacrifice that just to be a little leaner and see my abs in the mirror, So I definitely was just, not knowing what was going to happen, but knew I needed to up my fat. So I went up to, 80. I'm kind of like, I'm not like a strict tracker, but I do try to create awareness around my macros, and have just been focused on upping the fat. I'm tracking my ketones. So I'm really wanting, because that was the other thing, is in that phase, unless I was fasting, I was not getting into ketosis. So I was not feeling well, and, had a lot of, like I said, that food noise, getting hangry. And I wasn't getting into ketosis with I think I was at like 150-ish grams of protein a day, and then doing plenty of fat, but not like consuming any of the rendered fat or things like that. But I was still eating like a fair amount of fat. But yeah, just not enough for me. So since then I've been, focusing more on 80-20. Within days, and then my protein's I've been trying to actually lower it to more like 100 grams a day. And I think I've probably been overshooting it. It's once you've gotten used to eating higher protein, it's really hard to kind of back off, and then adjust to like eating only fat in between meals. So I've been doing a lot more of that, and, kind of, fat fasting. I say that, but really like focusing on just consuming fat in the earlier hours of the day, and then I bring in my meals with protein more like late morning, early afternoon, and then dinner. And it took like very little time for me to start seeing a positive shift. And, like my hair loss has been kind of a struggle or a thing through this whole 7 months. And just now in the last week or so, I've been feeling or seeing that slowing. My energy's up, but I'm put on a few pounds, right? So not the full 7 that I did in the beginning, but I had to put on a little bit of weight to be there, for my body to be in this safe space to feel well. And I had to just be okay with that and be at peace. And so, I've had to work through just the mental peace and remind myself that I deserve to have vibrant health, and to feel strong, and to feel well, and to have, solid relationships in my life, because I'm able to clearly communicate my feelings and my needs and respond to situations instead of react. And that's what it is to live and be healthy. And I think so much of social media, and it's definitely in my algorithm of, women that are, coaching and influencing, and they're in great shape. Some of these women with these like 6-pack abs, I'm like, after my experience, because I'm a fairly like naturally lean person. So I feel like for me to be in a place to get strong, which, I am, and then to lean out, that like my body should naturally kind of be able to do that. And man, once I got to that percentage of body fat where I was able to see that abdominal definition, I just felt like crap. And so it's no judgment, but it just makes me wonder, like, how are these women actually doing? They might be like kind of killing it with the way their bodies are looking, but especially some of these women that are in their 40s, and maybe it's just a healing process, and that's part of it too. Like, and then, like I said, no judgment. Maybe these women are just, they have healthy microbiomes, and they, don't have a ton of healing and repair needing to go on in their bodies, and so they're fine being that lean. I mean, I don't know, but so for me, I just am loving myself and letting my pants get a little tighter, and prioritizing my peace. So this all comes with speaking kindly, so I would just encourage you to speak kindly to yourself. Practice it. Practice having grace in your process. I've had clients who have been lost a significant amount of weight and started seeing loose skin. That's something that I don't personally have, I don't have a lot of personal experience with, but walking through that with clients is, to understand or choose to focus on the non-scale victories. I've had a client that, and just like your why and why you're really doing what you're doing. Because, I had a client once who was like, I'd almost rather be bigger than see all this hanging skin. Like, I feel like I look older, and I just, like my butt's flatter, and and just feeling like loose and old, and I'd almost just rather put the weight back on. And then we had to walk through all of the benefits, the health benefits that she's gained, and also being able to comfortably travel, comfortably sit in seats in public places, have the stamina to get through her work day, all of these things, and even positive changes in her cycle. It's like, these are the things that we really need to value. And oftentimes we do, but like what I like to call our critter brain, or our limbic brain, takes these opportunities to feed us these lies, and just, maybe it would be better to put that 80 pounds back on instead of seeing this hanging skin, as opposed to looking and saying, wow, like, look at all of that skin being a reflection of the hard work that I've put in. And to be able to just practice loving yourself exactly the way you are. So that's just an example, and we're all coming from different places. But, I just had to check myself and just say, like, hey, you're fit, you're healthy, you're strong, and maybe you don't look exactly like that influencer you see every day popping up in your reels, but you feel great. And that is all that matters. So, I hope you found this helpful. Please say hi in the comments. My name is Tiffany, by the way, if you are just coming across this and don't know me. I am a health coach, and I'm also on my own journey right now, exploring the carnivore diet. I teach women about an ancestral nutrition spectrum. So this is including carnivore, but also just kind of whole foods, and preparing them in the way that our ancestors have, and supporting our healing. So if you want to subscribe, I would love that. Like this. Leave me a comment letting me know if this resonates, if you've had this kind of experience, especially with all that we see on the internet all the time, making us feel like crap about ourselves. No need. You're worthy because you exist, and you deserve all the beautiful things. All right, well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.